Hi, this is Robert and Christian back with another new feature in Visual KPI. This time we're talking about a feature called Site Rollups. And this feature is specific to our Enterprise Edition, and it is another customer driven feature. So let me give you a quick background in this. Many large companies that we sell to have many different departments or different sites or other boundaries that cause them to want to make separate instances of Visual KPI. For example, they in just separate physical sites, maybe all of their users only want to see what's going on in that site and they have a different administrator for that site, etc. Or in departments, you might say, the finance team doesn't need to see what the production KPIs are, and the production department doesn't need to see what the R&D KPIs are, etc. But you do have managers or upper management who want to see across all these separate instances. And so we created this new feature called Site Rollups. And so let me have Christian just take you through what that is. Christian?
Sure. Thanks, Robert. So you're looking here at my screen, and I am showing you the site rollup page. And really, as Robert said, you may have many different instances of Visual KPI inside your company. In our case, we're going to look at our demos. So these are all of our different demo sites. We have a power gen demo, a T&D demo, some refining demos, things of that nature. And these are our standard sort of, you guys are familiar with this, with groups, KPIs, values, trends. It has its own color scheme and so on and so forth. So this would be our power gen demo. This here would be our transmission and distribution demo. And what I've done here is I've shown you a site rollup page that has all of that information in one place. By clicking on the links of the actual sites themselves, it'll take you right to whatever landing page you choose. By default, it'll be the home page of that particular site or Visual KPI instance. What you do get that's really interesting here is you get the full roll-up of those sites. So you can see here that biotech, when I click on this bar, it shows me a little drop down here, and it says, how many KPIs are low or good and how many total they are. I can look at food also, and you can kind of break these down and see what's going on. And of course, it also rolls these up completely to the all sites level and kind of shows you all your metrics at a glance across all of your different Visual KPI instances.
So in this case, Christian, it's saying we have over 13,000 KPIs rolled up from various sites. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. And a lot of the same sort of features that you're used to in a site apply also. I can go into filters, for instance, and say, what, I don't care about all these things. All I want to see is stuff that is, high or high. And I hit OK, and it filters those out. Another thing you can do is I can group things. This is actually really interesting. By using our custom attributes, I can define these on the site and say, maybe in this case, I've only done industry and region. But if I choose to group these by industry, then what we get is kind of ad hoc on the fly roll-ups based on that attribute that we defined. So here for IT, we have a data center demo and a virtual briefing center demo. And again, these are whatever you've defined in your company to be interesting ways to group this information, and we will create sort of ad hoc on the fly groupings and counts and roll-ups based on that custom attribute.
So somebody could have a departmental roll-up like production, and under it would be all the different physical sites perhaps, or regions, or however they carve it up.
Absolutely, kind of by region or anything you want, really. I mean, it's up to your imagination and how you want to use this, and how you group those, and we'll automatically do those. If I change this thing on the fly here, and I say, instead of grouping by this, group by region, now here I go. I got EMEAs, I got North America, South America, and all those calculations roll-ups are created for you. And of course, the last thing we have is geospatial integration here with Google Maps. So here I've added latitude and longitude to these site rollups, and it'll show you here where they are in the world. And you can click on any one of these and go right to that site.
Great. So Christian, how does one go about setting this up?
Well, great, Robert. That's actually quite simple. So I'm going to go to my Visual KPI Designer. And kind of three things have to happen. First of all, you have to have an enterprise license, as you mentioned. The second thing you have to do is turn a feature on. By default, it'll come turned off. You just say, true, and turn that on. And then you go in and you can just define your site rollups. So all it takes for a site roll to happen is a couple pieces of information. You want to give it a name and a web service URL. And you're used to these web service URLs. This is how the designer connects. And once you put those two pieces of information in, that's really all you need. The rest of it is authentication. If you have security turned on, maybe network credentials are required, integrated authentication along with the username and password. You can give it a destination URL. If you leave that blank, it'll take you to the home page. But suppose you want to go into maybe a KPI map page or something else, you can do whatever you want there with the destination URL. And then industry and region in this case are just custom attributes that allow me to group. As you scroll further to the right, you can put on things like latitude and longitude. Info for those things. You want to show how many megawatts for maybe a power site in this roll up, you can. So there's quite a few things you can do, but only a couple things you need to do. So let's go ahead and just add one really quickly here. In this case, I'm going to add my upstream demo. So I'm just going to type that in here. I can put a description if you want here. Let's put Christian description. And the web service URL, which in this case are already cut and paste. They all look very similar in this case. They may or may not be. They can be on different machines. They can be in different domains. As long as that web service is exposed, you can pull these over. So that's all I'm going to add to this. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. I'm going to then go back to my site rollups here. Let me go back, so I clicked on this, back to the home page. And you'll see now I have upstream. So I pulled in this data. It's a fairly small site with only 109 KPIs, but there is my data, and we added that on the fly. So that's really all there is to it. Of course, I can show and hide these things. I can add security to these things, whatever you need to do.
So that took about 1 minute to add that, and so could have been, yeah, I'd say 20 minutes, and you could have set this whole thing up if you had all these sites already running, correct?
That's correct.
Great. So one bonus feature that I wanted to talk about in this is that some people have separate instances, not because they're separate departments or other things, but because they want to sort of trick the system or use it for other visual effects, meaning the finance department or even just a regular department might have KPIs around profit or something where they want high numbers to be green, whereas another department, or maybe even in the same department, they might want something that's high to be red because it's bad. And so those are site-wide color things. So now you could actually, even within the same department, set up a set of KPIs where those colors are a certain way and another instance where they are the other, and then roll them up to, because you can see here there's sites with multiple color schemes rolled up.
Yeah, that's right, Robert. Yeah, absolutely. Basically, what it boils down to is if you want to preserve the KPI naming and color scheme from the site we're rolling up, that's the default behavior. Or you can override it and say, you know what, make all these the same, because management's going to get confused when some are red and so that means good somewhere and green means bad somewhere. And you can make them the same by having a color scheme and a naming scheme on the roll-up sites itself, the site roll-up instance itself, and use that. So you can unify them or leave them as they were. It's really your choice.
Great. So basically, let's, as you mentioned, Christian, lets you use your imagination and kind of do whatever you want, but now you have a view across as many sites as you want. So if you're an existing customer already of our Enterprise Edition, all you need to do is upgrade to the latest version and you will have this feature already. If you're an existing customer on our Pro or Starter Edition, just contact us if you want to upgrade to Enterprise Edition for this feature. And if you're not a customer at all, well, it's the standard issue. You can go see this at demo.transpara.com/demos. Or you can contact us, and I'll leave the link on the screen for a free trial, and we will set this up with your own data and your own devices. Thank you, Christian, and thanks for watching.